Nostalgic narratives.
Echoes of the past. Slavery and valor in the Roman Empire. In the heart of the Roman Empire, an institution as formidable as it was brutal flourished, slavery. This dark shadow loomed over daily life, permeating every stratum of Roman society. The Republic's economy relied heavily on a workforce stripped of rights, possessions, and freedom. These slaves lived under the ever-watchful eye of their masters, often subjected to incomprehensible brutality, starvation, torture, and even death at the whim of those who owned them. While popular culture may portray Roman slavery through a romanticized lens, the true reality was far more horrific. Let us journey together into the depths of the lives of Roman slaves, shedding light on their harrowing experiences and the society that enabled such cruelty. Slavery in ancient Rome encompassed a vast range of roles and responsibilities. Unlike the limited scope often depicted in films, slaves were not just relegated to menial household chores or agricultural work. They were integral to the very fabric of Roman life, filling urban and rural roles alike. Urban slaves might find themselves cooking in lavish kitchens, tending to the whims of the elite, or even managing the accounts of wealthy merchants. In the sprawling estates of the countryside, they toiled as blacksmiths, bakers, and guards. Furthermore, those captured in battle and sold into slavery found themselves assigned to critical public roles, such as firefighting or maintaining the infrastructure of a city. The diverse array of tasks performed by slaves highlighted their indispensable position within the Roman economy, often blurring the lines between servitude and skilled labor. While a path to freedom existed for some, it remained elusive for the majority. The most common avenue was through a master's grant, often bestowed posthumously in a will or through a formal ceremony. Other slaves might sell themselves into servitude to settle debts, regaining their freedom upon the expiration of their contracts. However, even those who succeeded in obtaining manumission often faced a harsh reality. Freedom did not equate to full citizenship. Former slaves became clients of their previous owners, forever bound by the limitations imposed upon them, unable to hold public office or enjoy the full rights of Roman citizens. Life for a Roman slave was rife with cruelty and punishment. Disobedience was met with brutal repercussions, ranging from beatings and chains to starvation. In the most extreme cases, a master could decide to sell, brand, or even execute their slaves, sometimes opting for crucifixion as a public spectacle. The quarters allocated to slaves were sparse and isolated, often located far from their masters' residences. Those serving in domestic capacities were housed within the master's domain, but were still clearly segregated, a constant reminder of their lower status. Such physical separations reinforced the societal belief that slaves were fundamentally different from their free counterparts. Nutrition for slaves was scant and often inadequate. Agricultural workers, for example, received minimal rations consisting of basic staples like wheat for bread. Those shackled and unable to grind grain would receive pre-made bread, while the harsh summer months brought slight reprieves in the form of extra flour and wine. Their diets were typically supplemented with wild fruits, vegetables, and whatever meager sustenance they could cultivate in small gardens. Domestic slaves occasionally benefited from leftover food, but their meals were a far cry from the bounty enjoyed by their masters. The relentless grind of labor was exacerbated by inadequate nutrition, creating a cycle of fatigue and suffering. Among the most harrowing experiences of slaves were those of gladiators, who faced an existence steeped in violence and bloodshed. Trained in camps resembling prisons rather than schools, gladiators endured rigorous training regimes that stripped them of their autonomy. While some freedmen chose to return to the arena in hopes of glory, the vast majority of gladiators were slaves. They took oaths to endure pain and even death for the entertainment of the Roman populace. The life of a gladiator was a tragic paradox, a quest for freedom and dignity twisted into a spectacle of violence and death. The attire of slaves reflected their status, further emphasizing their lack of autonomy. Male slaves received simple tunics every 3 years, while women were deprived of the fashionable stolas worn by free women. Footwear was issued infrequently, leading to the rapid deterioration of their already basic clothing. The Roman Senate even considered instituting a uniform for slaves, a notion abandoned for fear that the sheer number of slaves might realize their strength in numbers and rise against their masters. This fear of rebellion was not unfounded. The infamous revolt led by Spartacus in 73 BCE remains a poignant reminder of the potential for insurrection among enslaved people. Spartacus, a former gladiator, gathered an army of around 70,000 slaves, achieving several victories against the formidable Roman military before ultimately being crushed. Nevertheless, his uprising prompted a reconsideration of the treatment of slaves, as authorities recognized the power and resilience of those bound in chains. Contrary to other historical contexts, Roman slavery was not racially or ethnically based. Enslaved individuals hailed from various regions, including Greece, Egypt, North Africa, Gaul, and Asia Minor. As the empire expanded, it continuously absorbed new populations into servitude. Women, in particular, found themselves at the mercy of wealthy families, serving in roles that often involved both domestic labor and sexual exploitation. The physical and emotional abuses suffered by these women were reflective of a society deeply entrenched in its exploitation of human beings. Philosophers of the time, such as Seneca the Younger and Epictetus, argued for the ethical treatment of slaves, emphasizing their shared humanity. Seneca advocated for a paternalistic approach to master-slave relationships, while Epictetus, a former slave himself, passionately argued for fair treatment. Despite these philosophical undercurrents, Roman society remained heavily reliant on slave labor, a system that proved unsustainable and ultimately contributed to the empire's decline. The story of Roman slavery is one of profound suffering and resilient spirits. It reflects a society that not only tolerated but thrived on exploitation, leaving an indelible mark on history. While some changes occurred over time, the fundamental nature of slavery remained cruel and unforgiving. The eventual fall of the Roman Empire in 476 CE marked the decline of this brutal institution, paving the way for a more just society, at least in theory. The echoes of this history serve as a sobering reminder of the lengths to which humanity can fall when economic gain outweighs ethical considerations. Even as the specter of slavery loomed over the empire, Roman soldiers led complex lives marked by diverse diets, rigorous discipline, and a relentless commitment to their service. Stationed across Europe and the Mediterranean, soldiers relied on local resources to sustain themselves. In northern territories, they consumed cow's milk and cherished cheese made from sheep and goat milk for its high fat content. Some soldiers even raised livestock, making cheese production a practical endeavor. Rome's enthusiasm for cheese-making extended beyond its borders, showcasing the empire's cultural integration, albeit often enforced. Vegetables played a vital role in soldiers' diets, yet their transportation posed challenges, leading legions to commandeer local farms for fresh produce. While the specifics of their vegetable consumption remain uncertain, it's likely that soldiers made do with whatever was available, often suffering from nutritional deficiencies. Scurvy was not uncommon, indicating that their diets lacked certain essential nutrients. To quench their thirst, Roman soldiers turned to pasca, a vinegar-water mixture flavored with herbs. Though associated with lower ranks, pasca was practical for disinfecting contaminated water. Higher-ranking officers occasionally drank pasca as a gesture of camaraderie. Wine, however, held a more esteemed place in Roman culture, with soldiers encouraged to partake in moderation. They even planted vineyards wherever stationed, though the quality of the wine often resembled vinegar rather than the luxurious beverages enjoyed by the elite. Service in the Roman military brought considerable rewards, but it was also marked by stringent discipline. Soldiers typically served for up to 25 years, with those who survived earning land and pensions as a reward for their loyalty. The stability offered by military life eclipsed that of civilian occupations, where job security was often elusive. Access to amenities such as bakeries and bathhouses set soldiers apart, elevating their status compared to ordinary citizens. However, strict discipline governed life in the military. Minor infractions could lead to harsh punishments, while severe transgressions could result in execution. The notorious punishment of decimation, a practice in which 1 in 10 soldiers from a unit would be killed, was enforced as a means of maintaining order. Commanders known for their rigorous discipline, like Lucilius, often employed extreme measures to ensure compliance, underscoring the high expectations placed upon Roman soldiers. Equipped with iron armor, metal helmets, and heavy shields called scuta, Roman soldiers were prepared for combat. They wielded the pilum, a spear designed to bend upon impact, rendering it unusable by enemies, and the gladius, a short sword ideal for close-quarters fighting. Ranged weapons were typically reserved for specialized auxiliary units, emphasizing the disciplined tactics that defined the legions. The effectiveness of the Roman army lay not only in their advanced weaponry, but also in their strategic acumen. Soldiers practiced formations like the triplex aces, optimizing both offensive and defensive capabilities. They utilized messenger pigeons for communication and dug trenches to trap enemy cavalry. Although the Romans were initially slow to adopt siege technology, when they did, innovations like the ballista became vital components of their military arsenal. Daily life for a Roman soldier involved more than just combat. It consisted of routine tasks such as infrastructure maintenance and public works. Barracks operated as small communities, requiring constant upkeep, with soldiers taking on various roles during peacetime. Marriage was typically prohibited during service, though high-ranking centurions could marry. This restriction led to unofficial relationships with local women, a practice that evolved over time, ultimately allowing soldiers to marry in 193 CE. A significant shift in policy that recognized the realities of military life. Roman soldiers' attire reflected their status and served practical purposes. They wore tunics that varied by rank, with the standard tunic made of wool or linen. Footwear was essential, as soldiers traversed diverse terrains, often opting for sturdy sandals or boots. Roman engineers crafted sophisticated roads, enabling armies to mobilize efficiently and reinforcing the empire's vast network. The soldiers who defended the Roman Empire were not only warriors but also skilled craftsmen, laborers, and builders. Their impact extended beyond the battlefield. They shaped the landscape of cities and built enduring structures that continue to stand as monuments to their legacy. The complexities of their lives reveal a society that, while driven by conquest, also relied on the contributions of individuals bound by duty, loyalty, and a quest for honor. As we reflect on the legacies of both Roman slaves and soldiers, we uncover a tapestry woven from threads of suffering, resilience, and ambition. The duality of their experiences serves as a testament to the intricacies of Roman society, a civilization that, at its zenith, showcased both the heights of human achievement and the depths of moral failure. Their stories resonate with a universal truth. The quest for freedom, dignity, and a better life is a battle fought across time and space, echoing through the ages as we strive to remember the lessons of history and ensure they are never forgotten.